Hello all, welcome to another review of Doing Business by the Good Book. We're now on to chapter 4, so we'll jump into it in a second. But just to let you know, if you haven't checked out any of the previous videos or recordings, then just click on the channel and you'll see all the previous chapters along with an introduction to the book. So without further ado, we are going to jump into chapter 4, which is Striving for Excellence. And as usual, I've got some notes written down in the book and in my notepad. For those of you who probably don't know, I've also launched a blog which has all of these notes on there. It's just a bit easier for people who, let's say they're at work and they can't listen to the audio. There's, if you go on the Instagram page, and I'll put a link at the bottom of this video, there's a link to a WordPress blog and all the notes will be there. They might not be there instantly as soon as I upload this, but they will be there over the coming week. And I also invite you to comment. If you have any comments, then you can stick them in the comment section below. So, Striving for Excellence, he starts the chapter off by saying, from Psalms 8:3-5, "When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have established, what are human beings that you are mindful of them, mortals that you care for them, yet you have made them a little lower than God and crowned them with glory and honour." So, a bit windy, I'm outside. So with this chapter, what he's saying is that throughout the whole chapter, he's saying that we're so insignificant compared to what God has created, but he treasures us so much. You know, God has created the universe, he's created the mountains, the seas, the sun, everything, and we're so insignificant compared to all the grand things that he's created, but he's blessed us with so much. So we really have to be very fortunate and grateful for all of the abilities that he's given to us. You know, we've got, freedom, we can think independently, we can do what we want, we can experience so many beautiful things that the world has to offer. And we really, truly are blessed for being, as far as we know, the species which has so much power and so much potential. So in this gratitude, we also must remember that we have to strive for excellence in doing his work. So the same way God has created everything perfect, it's not to say that we must constantly strive for perfection, because perfection takes a lot of time, but it's trying to get as close to perfection as possible, whether that's in terms of your product or your service. What can you be doing to make sure that you are given the best possible product or service? You know, what do you need to do in order to do that? Does it mean it's spending more money in terms of research and development? Does it mean improving your after sales service? Does it mean getting a better sales team in place, one that is able to understand the customer's demands and is able to deliver the right product or service to them? So it's about really striving towards perfection and giving everything in your business as much energy as possible so that it is the best product as possible. And if you look at the best brands out there, or not necessarily the best brands, the companies that seem to last a long time, what they do have is a good quality product. Now, obviously their products aren't perfect, but the reason why they've been able to hang around for so long, your Coca-Colas, your Apples, who else? McDonald's, I know they're not the healthiest of foods, but they are consistent and they deliver a product which is perfect in their own right, and people really appreciate the efforts that a lot of these companies put into making a product which is consistent and is perfect in their own right. So yes, for example, McDonald's, it might be unhealthy for you, but it's a consistent burger. Whichever McDonald's you go to, you're going to get the same Big Mac everywhere you go. If you want the same Big Mac, and you're going to get chips done a certain way, you're going to get your chicken nuggets done a certain way. So they've strived for perfection in their own way. So now moving on, when Steward launched Worldwide Technology, he was determined to excel in serving people, giving the best possible service to employees, vendors and customers. So he really invested heavily in service. Without good service, you can only last so long. You can have the best product in the world, but if the service isn't there, then people will realize your true colors and they won't buy your product or service again. So that's very, very important. And Steward says again, you can't be perfect, but you must strive for it. And a lovely quote which I picked out from the chapter is, a commitment to excellence starts at the top of an organization. So I'm just turning the page. Yeah, so a commitment to excellence starts at the top of an organization. So that touches on the previous chapter, whereby if you are striving for excellence, and let's say you're a junior staff member or you're in the middle of an organization, if you see your managers and the CEO constantly striving for excellence, then you're going to do the same thing. And if you see them pushing day after day to deliver a good service, you're going to do the same thing. Now, as Steward also mentions, there are people who don't have the same ethics, but sooner or later they end up leaving, or they get sort of weeded out because their colleagues won't put up with substandard performance. So it's very important when you're setting up a business, running a business, that your colleagues are able to see how hard you push for a certain standard, so that they can copy you, so they can model you and deliver that to the customers that they're facing. Now, coming towards the end of the chapter, I took some more notes. He says, well, this is actually a note that I made. It's important to communicate to employees that anything less than excellence is unacceptable. So lead by example. So leading by example is important, because if you're saying one thing but you're doing another thing, then people will see that the emperor has no clothes, and that you might say it, but if you're not following through, then why should they follow through? It's about being consistent across the board. It's about demonstrating how to achieve that excellence, not just saying it, not just, saying make 100 calls a day, for example, to clients, and you're there relying on your big hefty paycheck, or doing something completely different. From time to time, your staff will want to see how to do those 100 phone calls. So it's not about doing it all the time, but it's saying that it's showing that you can do it, and this is how to do it, and this is the way it should be done, and that you as the boss, you can step in at any time and do their job. You might not be able to do it as well as them, but you're going to pick up the phone and make those 100 phone calls. So it's just about leading by example, not asking people to do things which you're afraid to do yourself. And lastly, staff have to be nurtured, and it's this way of thinking that creates a standard that weeds out underperformers. So that again is touching on the previous point that I made, that you have to set the standards in everything that you do. There's this video vlog that I've been watching recently from this guy called Richard Uzi, and he says it perfectly well. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're compromising in certain areas of your business, not giving it the best that you can, then how can you possibly expect your business to perform to a very high standard, and for your staff to be able to draw on performing to a high standard? How are they going to perform to a high standard if they see that you cut corners in some areas and spend more time in other areas and excel in those areas? It creates a lot of inconsistency. So how you do one thing is how you do everything. Set the standard of greatness, set the standard of quality control that you expect to see day in and day out, and your employees will have no choice but to copy that standard, to follow that standard. And yes, it will take a long time to create a high standard. It might take a long time to review things or get things out of the door, but sometimes you just have to do that in order to remind the staff that this is what you expect to be seen at the end of the day. So what I'll do is I will type up these notes. Excuse the quality of the audio. I'm outside and the weather is really bad, but it's the only place that I can record at the moment. As I said, I'll create the notes for this video. I'll also link you to Richard Yuzi's channel. He's a young guy. I think he's in his early 20s, an up and coming sort of entrepreneur, and he's going to be massive on YouTube. He's a young guy, but you can learn so much from anyone, and especially him. His energy is contagious. He's such a smart kid, and I really think that a lot of you will get great value out of his content as well. So I'll link to one of his videos, or maybe just his channel, and that's all for today. Have a great day, stay safe, stay clean, and most importantly, enjoy the things that you do have, and don't worry about the things that you're missing out on or you don't have. See ya.